Remind me to do that, Rita.
All right. Okay.
Okay, so we talked a lot last week about the senses, right?
Mm-hmm.
Consciousness comes through the senses. That's how we experience the world, through our senses. And how in Eastern philosophy that mind is just seen as a sense. And this is very important for us to remember. And I'd like for you to sort of go about your week this week and just kind of see how much our world is about the mind. You know, if you think about it, the real world is your body and your breath. That's your life, right? Your life is your body and your breath. And the real world is nature, right? You also have your relationships with other people. But how much of our life do we spend in our minds? And our culture is very much about the mind. It's all about concepts, ideas, and or a lot of work. I know, Karen, you're working on a computer. A lot of work is through language. So mind is very language based. So in remembering that we have 6 sense organs and one of them is mind, remembering to go out into the real world, right? And that's why a lot of the practices that we do will come back to the body again and again and again, and come back to the breath again and again and again, because this is the real world. This is your life. And because we live in such a society where the mind is held up as being very important, it can cause us to be in that place that Karen calls the squiggly bit. That we are often in the place of mind wandering, right? So when we are not actively in the present moment, our mind will just go off looping and having thoughts. So when you try to meditate, your mind goes off and thinks, oh my God, I can't meditate. What's wrong with me? I'm such a bad person. Why can't I do that? Okay, I'll try again. I'll come back. Right. So this place of mind wandering, we were usually there. There's been a study that I like, where these scientists set up an app, and they took quite a wide base of people, and the app kind of triggered them at several points during the day to, they had to put in what they were thinking about. And the study in the end reveals that on average, people spend about 45% of their time mind wandering, right? Here. So mindfulness then is when you actually apply your mind, you integrate your mind and your senses into being in the present moment. It's really very simple in a way. It just means you're being here in the present moment, feeling with your body and feeling with your mind. Directing your mind directs the attention to the body and the breath. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So, in a way, we can experience that simplicity of life when we go out into nature. You know, when you go for your walk, remember, look at the sky. Take the ear pods or whatever you've got in your ears out and listen. Mm-hmm. Listen to the environment that's happening around you. And that's one thing, you know, I didn't do it today, but I tried to sit under a tree every day to actually stop, you know, because sometimes I find that I'm on my bicycle and I live right beside the Ormer Park, but I'm flying through the park because I've got to get somewhere, right? I've got to do this. A lot of our mind is doing that. Oh, next I have to do this, and then I have to do that, and then I have to do this, and then I have to do that, and it's just never ending. We never get anywhere. We think when I get there to that point, then I can relax. And when I get to that point, then I'll be able to relax. But we're actually, by constantly looking at these points in the future, we're not engaging in the present moment. So we're missing our life. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
We're projecting ourselves into the future. So we're missing the present moment. We're missing our life. So, you know, a way to counterbalance the mind then is to really engage the senses, to feel the ground underneath you. And when I sit under the tree, and, you know, I usually have a look around and just look at the sky and the colors around. The first thing I usually notice is that the thoughts in my head are louder than the sounds I can hear around me. That makes sense. Mm-hmm. And then there's something about being in nature where the body can really settle and rest if you do sit down under a tree, put a blanket or whatever under the tree. But there's a knowing that, you know, when we go into the body, the mind is very black and white, right? We talked about that last week. You know, it's aversion, raga devesha. Remember that? It's always going between, I like it, I don't like it. I should have done this, I shouldn't do this, right? It's always polarizing. Or it's right, it's wrong. Yeah. Is it right? Is it wrong? Am I good? Am I bad? You know? So it's always oscillating between these two. Whereas when you go into the body and you try to look at, for example, your feelings, you get physical sensations of feelings within the body. But it's very difficult to say what they are, isn't it? You know, when you're doing a yoga pose and I say, well, try and feel your kidney, and your mind just goes, what? I don't know where my kidney is. Yeah. And you kind of have to go, it's kind of like looking into the dark. It's fuzzy, right? I don't know, have you had this experience?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or, you know, and it's very frustrating actually for the mind. The mind likes things to be clear. So it can be very uncomfortable for the mind, but, you know, the more we do it, the more we find it easier, and the more you can see almost when you go into the body, the more you can feel over time. That when you keep training yourself to come back to feeling the body and the mind, over time, the more you will feel in your body. And it's very important for us to get in touch with our feelings, because feelings can fuel the mind wandering, right? So let's say you have a bad day and you just wake up feeling, you know, for me today, it's maybe day 20 in my menstrual cycle, right? So around this time, I start to get a bit like, a bit, a bit irritable. But because I'm aware of it, I'm like, oh yeah, it's day 20. Yeah, it's day 20. I always lose the rag on day 20. So because I'm aware of it, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, it's just that feeling. You know, it's just that feeling of irritation. So what I do then is I go, okay, let's welcome in the irritation. Let's feel it. Feel it. Now this is a practice, it's not easy, okay? So you feel the irritation, you'd go to your body and you say, okay, where am I feeling? Where's the physical sensation? Because emotions are physical sensations. Yeah. And if you really allow yourself to feel it, usually it changes. Yeah. It's like the feeling is like, oh, thanks, you're listening to me. That's great. I've been here waiting for you. And, and it changes, it transforms. It's kind of like the weather, right? It changes and transforms and moves. If you resist it, it won't go away, right? If you stay in the realm of the mind and you think, I have to get rid of this, right? And I'm kind of talking about negative feelings, I suppose, here. I don't know if any of you guys probably won't know. In the 90s, there was this band called Therapy they're from Larne. You don't know, nobody knows them now. No. They're good at headbanging, like rock band. They have their songs were actually very therapeutic for me growing up, very cathartic, you know, to just get the guitars out and headbang. But they have this song called it might be called Nausea, but one of the lines in the song says, I don't want to feel anymore. He just keeps shouting, I don't want to feel anymore. You know? And I suppose sometimes we think when we approach mindfulness that that's what we want to do. We want to block out emotions, and I don't want to feel the pain. But actually, what we're doing with mindfulness practice is we're opening up our sensory perception. We're widening it and expanding it. We're allowing in the feelings. We're not trying to push them away. When we try to push them away, when we try to resist, that's the realm of the mind again. That's resisting. We go to the mind and we go, no, 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 I don't want to feel this. And it actually makes it worse. It makes the feeling worse because the feeling will not change unless you go and allow it. Now, having said all of that, it's not easy. And if you haven't been in the practice of doing it, and you've got a lot of trauma, or maybe you're going through a really hard time, sometimes feeling the feelings can be very difficult because feelings can be hell, right? Mm-hmm. Feelings can be heaven or they can be hell. So that's why we have practices like what we did last week, the Soham breathing. Soham works very well with the mind. Yeah, just to calm the mind. But we also need to stay within the body, getting in touch with our feelings so that we become more resilient. Yeah. And another way of working with it, feelings, is journaling. You know, the writing that we do. Mm-hmm. It can be a great way of, you know, writing down your thoughts and then writing down, okay, how am I feeling? Because again, sometimes it's very hard to give expression to what you're feeling in the body, but it can help you to get in touch with it, help you to express it, move it out of the body. And you'll see that over time that, you know, then you'll begin to say, okay, today I'm feeling a bit down. And you'll know, there'll be a deeper knowing then, okay, that's okay. It's okay to feel down because I know it will change, it will shift. Does that make any sense to you at all?
Yep. Mhm.
Yeah.
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 But I would recommend that, sorry, Maureen.
Yes, it makes sense very much, that feeling of always want to get to another place. And then if I think of it as a physical feeling, it's in my tummy.
Yeah.
Like a wee nervousness in my tummy.
Yeah.
And that keeps me from doing squiggly things.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
That's how it affects me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you know, and often sometimes the feeling can be looking for a story, right? Remember we talked about how when we're mind wandering, it's always a conversation with ourselves. It's always a story about me, right? About your relationship with the world. But sometimes the feeling is actually a habitual pattern or reaction which comes from something that happened to you when you're 5 years old, and this is trauma, right? Or some, you know, when you were 20 years old, or blah, 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 that hasn't been processed and that is looking for expression. So this is another warning, caution, that, you know, sometimes when you really stop and look at the feelings and you really allow the feelings to come to the surface, it can be attached to older traumas. So you do have to, you know, if you feel that suddenly this overwhelming feeling is coming out of nowhere, you need to make sure that you have support and that you're ready to feel it. Okay. Otherwise, you just stop the practice, right? You stop, or maybe come back to your mantra. So sometimes we do need to have a little bit of distraction, you know, like the mantra, if it's really overwhelming, right? And, you know, for me personally, I mean, you all know that I, a couple of years ago, split up with my long-term partner, and it was very difficult. And I found that there was times where I had to do other types of practice, you know, not just sitting with the feelings. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I had to go out and jump in the sea and scream, basically.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to help me move the feelings out of the body. So just wanted to say that, because it's not supposed to be torture, right? This practice takes time of unpeeling the layers.
Mm-hmm.
You do it gradually, layer by layer, and you do, you know, I've found that over time that I do feel so much better, so much lighter. And, you know, when I touch in with, oh, okay, that anxious feeling is actually coming from a place when I was 5 years old, something that happened in the school playground, that once I can recognize that and let it go, then I feel even more grounded. So I hope that makes sense to you. And that's the big talk about working with your feelings in your practice and in your day-to-day life. And I hope hope I haven't confused you. Don't think I'll say anything more about it today or introduce you to any. Yeah, well, I'm not going to introduce you to any terms today. I'll just leave it with that. So let's do. Have you got something colorful? I just want to do a practice for your senses. Is there something colorful knocking around that you could pick up, like an orange? Or I had a leaf and now I can't find it. Let's see what I can. Pick up this because actually Anne Smiley, where's Anne Smiley gone? And you gave me this plant years ago. Do you remember?
Yes.
I repotted it and it's grown new leaves.
Oh. Gosh, that was years. That was about 5 years ago.
Yeah, she handed it to me and she says, Orla, somebody gave me a present of one of these guys and I love it because it thrives on neglect. I remember you saying that. I was like, that's perfect for me. And
Yeah.
you know. So and it has thrived on neglect. So is it peace lily? I think you call
it's the peace lily. Yes. Yeah.
You can't kill them. They're great.
Yeah.
So I would recommend it. Oh, that's lovely, Maureen. Maureen's got something nice.
Just a bit of paper, no? Does it have to be not something nature?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't have to be. It could be anything because a teddy. So yeah, that's interesting. Can you touch it? Close your eyes and just touch whatever you have. It could be your pants, it could be a piece of clothing. And just notice the textures, the feelings. This is such a funny thing to do, isn't it? That's lovely, Joan. Yeah, you could squeeze it. Yeah. And what we're doing here is we're trying to really just develop our sensory sense of feeling. What information can you get through touch about the material? Can it make a sound somehow? If I ruffle the leaves, it can make a sound. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe you need to throw it against the wall for it to make a sound. Okay, don't do that, Karen. You've got something glass there. Oh, you can bounce it up and down. Yeah. What information can you get from the sound? The way sometimes kids can, when they're really young, and you open a bar of chocolate or unwrap something, and they just can go, they recognize the sound. So there's a lot in our sensory perception that we are aware of, but it's unconscious. So becoming conscious of sound. And then color. Maybe you can sniff it as well. This doesn't actually have very much scent. Right. Maybe the soil has. But even things like, smell is very connected with your memory. So, I remember, do you remember in school, like you get a new book and you'd open it up and stick your nose and the way books smell, or
Mhm.
records. When you get a new CD,
Mhm.
and you smell the inlay card. Even petrol. When I was a kid, I loved going to the petrol station because the smell of petrol. And I still love the smell of cigarettes. Oh my God. Great.
Yeah. Mm.
So I see Karen going, no, not me, no.
Yeah.
The way we have that aversion as well. There's things we love, and then there's I like it, I don't like it. I like it, I don't like it. The color, I forgot about the color. Color is a great thing to do. Great practice to do is to look at the color and just of whatever you have, and just take some time for your eyes to really absorb the color. And maybe close the eyes then and see if you can reimagine the smell and the color. You might open your eyes again and look again. I'm getting some feedback, and this is a recording, so I'm just going to mute you. This is a great practice to do for your mind. And it helps feed the mind as well. It helps feed your imagination, to feed your senses, We didn't taste it, but maybe it's not appropriate to taste your candle holder or the plant. But you can do that later when you're having your cup of tea or your chocolate. Okay, so let's do some formal practice. We'll stand up and move a little bit. Okay, and just sensing and feeling through the feet, whether you're in shoes or not. Sensing and feeling through the feet. What information can you get about the inside of your shoes, or information about the ground, the texture of the carpet underneath, or the floor? And begin to draw your attention inside the body, sensing and feeling through the bones. And now as I stand, I'm hearing the floorboard creak underneath the weight of my body. So I'm noticing the sound field, the sounds around me. You might rise up the front of the spine, dropping the legs into gravity. And expand your attention now to the whole body. Notice how the body is breathing. Can you feel your breath in your body? Feel the movement internally. You might also feel the external rising of the belly and the chest. And now I'm turning the hands out, if you can see me. I'm going to do some movement for your shoulders. I'm rotating the palms out and then dropping the head and beginning to turn the hands so that the little fingers come towards each other. The head drops. And then inhale. You begin to turn the thumbs back. And as you do, rise up front spine. Maybe look up. Okay. Now, can you continue to do that with your own breath? So as you exhale, dropping the chin and bringing little fingers towards each other. Yeah. Inhale, rise up front spine. Opening up the front of the body, turning thumbs back. Exhale. And just keep going with your breath. So if you can, close your eyes or look away from the screen and see if you can stay within your own experience. We'll do maybe 2 more cycles. And then just come back to center and pause. Sensing and feeling your body, sensing and feeling your breath. Okay, and then a twist. Inhale, reach up. And to twist, we'll just open the arms to the side, looking all the way. Inhale, come back to center, and exhale, opening the arms to the side again. And just go ahead and explore that movement with your own breath. Each time you inhale, you reach up, and each time you exhale, opening out. Now this is a good place. We can see the movement as movement 1, movement 2. But can you see if you can stay with each part of the movement, each tiny little incremental moment to moment experience? What am I feeling now? And now, and now. And you know, when you're moving, sometimes your awareness can be moving around the body. Okay, now I'm feeling my neck. Now I'm feeling my arms. And that's okay. But your mind could be like, oh, I'm doing it wrong. I should be feeling everything. I should be. So just remember, there's no wrong way. You're just sensing and feeling the body. There's no right way. You're just sensing and feeling the body. Now maybe with the next one we'll come back, and if you want to do one more, that's fine. My arms are tired, so I'm going to bring my arms down. And take a few breaths again, just stopping and checking in. Feeling your body. Now, next movement, inhale, reach the arms up, interlace the fingers, lengthen the spine up, still feel the feet. And just, we're not using the breath this time, we're just going to circle around. And explore, sense and feel, oh, if I lean a little bit further forwards, where do I feel the movement? If I go a little further back, or if I make the movement more subtle, where do I feel it? Changing direction, of course. Just being curious about the feelings. And then inhale, come back up. Exhale, drop the hands down. Oh. Whew. And you're stopping, you keep coming back. You know, the mind is like, okay, what's next? What are we going to do next? When are we going to sit down? Yeah. So can you just come back and be in your body? Okay, and then my favorite movement, you can do your favorite movement if you like. One of my favorites that I do every day is just to interlace the hands behind. Inhale to reach up. And exhale to fold. Reaching the arms overhead. Then I might inhale to come back up. Exhale to go back down. One more, inhale and exhale. Whew. Maybe a little bounce or a shake or a circle of the hips. Do something that you like now. See if you can do something you go, oh, I'd like to do that. I'd like to shake, or I'd like to circle the hips. What feels good to you? Anything at all that you want to do. And then we'll come back. Lovely, everyone. We'll come back to center. And then come and sit. I would recommend you lie down today. Right. I'm going to talk you through just feeling and sensing into the body. And we're going to integrate just a little bit of compassion practice into it. So as you're getting set up, can you just sweep your hands over your body? So take your feet and just sense and use your hands to sweep over the feet, and at the same time feeling and sensing into your feet, into your ankles. Sweeping your hands down the legs and sensing and feeling inside your knees. Sensing and feeling, sweeping your hands down your thighs, into the groins. And you're just noticing, right? You're noticing through touch and feeling. Oh, is it? It's tight there. Oh, that's interesting. Rub your hands on the belly and sense and feel into the belly. You might feel all sorts of interesting little spots. Getting your hands in under the ribs and just kind of not torturing yourself, of course, but just feeling and sensing your body, sweeping your hands over the ribs, breasts, the arms, armpits. Rubbing hands together. Might feel nice as well. I love to sweep my hands along the back of the neck, over the head, and just do a little bit of shampoo, sensing and feeling your head, your forehead, your eyes. Noticing the plane go over as I'm sensing and feeling my jaw. Laying your hands over your throat, just sensing and feeling your throat. Maybe making a sigh out. And notice how that makes you feel. Doing several sighs out. Ooh. And then see if you can come into stillness. Yeah. So letting the whole body slowly settle. Getting a sense for where your body is supported by the ground. And you could be lying on the couch, but what parts of my body are making contact with the support. And even if you're up on the third floor, visualizing the earth itself underneath the building. The earth is supporting your body in every moment. So can you allow your body to drop into that support? And you may notice that there are parts in your body where you're holding. And can you invite the body to let go? Inviting the body to trust the support that's being offered. Inviting the body to receive the support. And now go to your forehead. Notice the sensations in the forehead. Noticing sensations in the brain. Bring your attention to your eyes. Notice sensations in the eyes, in the backs of the eyes. Bring your attention to your jaw. Noticing sensations in the jaw and the teeth. In the tongue. So we're approaching the body with a sense of curiosity. Noticing your throat. Noticing vocal cords. Noticing the layers of muscle and skin of the neck. Noticing where the neck meets the skull. And where the neck meets the shoulders. And we travel further now into the landscape, noticing the right shoulder. And then go and visit the left shoulder. And then visiting the left arm. The left upper arm, elbow, forearm, and wrist. Noticing the left palm, back of the hand, left fingers and thumb. And then notice the right shoulder, right arm. Sensing and feeling down into your right forearm, your wrist, back of the hand, palm, right fingers and thumb. Bring your attention now to right armpit, left armpit. And then getting a sense for the heart and the lungs. You might be noticing how the breath is moving in and out of the lungs. Travel below the navel. And notice over to the right side, just under the right ribs. Sense and feel in there, visiting the liver, pancreas, visiting your right kidney, just peeping out under the back ribs. And then go over and visit under the left ribs. Sensing and feeling into that space, the stomach and spleen area. And go down then through the guts. Go down into the bowl, the pelvic bowl. Sensing and feeling into the womb space, or yoni space as it's called in Sanskrit, which is the womb and the vagina. Notice sensations out through the lower back and hips. Sense and feel into the groins. Thighs. Sense and feel into your knees. And visiting now the lower legs, calves, shins, ankles. Visiting tops of the feet, soles of the feet, and each one of your toes. Getting a sense for the bones. Getting a sense for the nerves. Getting a sense for the whole body. The whole body landscape. The whole body landscape breathing. as if your breath is like a wave ebbing and flowing. That wave coming into the landscape, moving inside the landscape. And you're watching with curiosity, with fascination. And just take some time to check in with the weather of sensation. What can I feel? So is it raining in my belly? Or is it sunny? What sensations are passing over the body, are arising? What's the mental weather like? And then anchor your attention at the heart. At the heart level, maybe the center of the chest. As if you were breathing in and out of the heart. And if you can smile just a little bit. And cultivate a sense of compassion, a sense of acceptance. And breathe that in and out of the heart space. a sense of compassion and acceptance. For your whole body and self. And there may be resistance. You may find it difficult to breathe that sense of compassion for yourself. To breathe it in and out of the body. You might want to put one hand on the center of the chest and one on the belly. And just feeling the quietness of the earth underneath you. Quiet earth which supports us in so many ways. Sensing your body's relationship to the earth. Sensing your breath, its natural ebb and flow. And you might then bring your attention to the fingers and toes. And as you inhale, open. And as you exhale, relax. Inhale, opening. Exhale, relax. If you feel like reaching or rolling your head, do that. Or maybe swaying from side to side if you were sitting. And when you feel ready, and take your time, feel free to sit up if you were lying down. Take your time. You might grab your notebook to do some writing. Just write down the thoughts, so the stream of consciousness, what thoughts or distractions came up. And what feelings. And this is for yourself, it's not to be shared. So try to be as honest with yourself as you can. Just put my blanket on. So were there points where you could feel at home in your body, peace? Or were there parts which were very difficult to be in? Were there dark places or fuzzy places? Places you couldn't really see very easily. Can you still feel those places now? Can you still feel your breath now? So I suppose the practice could be viewed as learning to be at home in your body. It's very simple, really, isn't it? But at the same time, it's not easy. Yeah. Especially when we're used to doing. And I think lockdown really brought that up for so many of us, that we had to sit and be with ourselves. And if inside is not a comfortable place to be, then it's going to be tough, you know. Okay. Any questions about any of that, or if you'd like to share how you got on with it? Any difficult places?
If you, it's really hard. There's, if you're feeling something but you're not sure what it is it just a sign you need to do the practice more often and figure it out?
Yeah, well, it's like, you know, when you go into the body, Karen, you're like, whoa, it's not. Yeah, it will be confusing. It will be confusing, will be a sense of, I don't know what that is, you know. And that's kind of the truth of impermanence as well. And the truth of our lives is that sometimes you can look back at the past and say, well, that was very clear in hindsight. But when you're going through something, life is never black and white, is it? There's always gray areas. And that's the truth of nature and the body, is that it's never, you know, when you look at a feeling, you're like, what is that? So you keep looking with curiosity. You look again, you know, and you watch the mind going, what is it? What do I call that? That's what the mind wants to do. It wants to name it.
Yeah,
It's
there'd
a
be like pain and bad posture and stuff, which is always a distraction to me. That I get what that is. Like I get that when I realize I'm clenching my jaw, or that my shoulders are sore, it's because of my posture and I haven't paid enough attention this week. but when you go into like your guts or
Hmm.
yeah, it definitely wanted me to pay attention to something, but I can't figure out what it's saying.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
It wasn't, there's no pain. It wasn't necessarily negative. There's something there, but I don't know what it is. And also my tinnitus is slightly back. It went away there for a long time and it's
Nice.
slightly back this week. And I'm just kind of wondering, I have a sneaking suspicion that that's psychosomatic. So
Hmm.
what is it that's brought that back? I don't know what that's connected to or what the trigger has been for that. I can't connect it to something.
But you see the way your mind is trying to make meaning out of it.
Yes.
Yeah. And the way you talked about your posture, it's bad posture, bad posture.
So much
You know,
bad.
posture is just posture. Yeah. Who says it's bad or good? Who says like who? Our
Mostly
world.
back.
Our, okay, so the back is telling you something, right? But our society is very much like we listen to authority figures, and somebody says this is how things are, and we go, oh right. How do they know? Yeah. All we know is nothing. This is the practice of getting comfortable with not knowing. Remember that meditation we did a few weeks ago that you all hated? Who am I? Don't know. Remember that one? Yeah. So sometimes it can be scary to go into the body or to face those kind of truths. Don't know. Or maybe, your mind has said, okay, now I know who I am. I'm this person. And then the next minute, it's like, that's gone again. You feel another sensation. Oh, I feel happy. And then 2 seconds later, you're in the depths of despair. It's always changing. Always changing. But if we can stay with our moment to moment experience and just always remind ourselves, oh yeah, it's impermanence. Everything changes all the time. My mind wants to make it permanent, but that's not reality. That's not real life. And again, going out into nature reminds us of that because it's always cycles. You go through cycles, and now we're going through autumn, and the leaves are turning and changing and dropping. And there's great beauty to change. It would be so boring if life was black and white. It's just your mind that wants to make meaning out of those sensations and feelings. Just stay with them with curiosity. What is this? It's fascinating. I don't know if I even answered any of those questions, but if they were a question, were the question. Okay. Anybody else like to share or say anything or ask a question? Maureen, how are you?
I'm okay. I found it hard to concentrate. I did the breathe in, breathe out a wee bit to help me just keep my mind focused. But
Yeah.
it did wander a wee bit. But I think it's just lack of practice.
Mm-hmm.
I need to practice more. I need to take half an hour each day and just go through some of that. Write a journal. I need to do that.
Yeah. But
But it was a great experience, Orla. Thank you.
thanks, Maureen. Just remember as well, if your mind wanders, it doesn't matter. Your mind will wander. Sometimes we think again, the mind goes, you're doing it wrong. You're not doing the practice right. Some days I sit, I sit down here and I'm just like, my mind is like, for the entire time. But I just try and stay and just go, remind myself that's okay. Mind's wandering. Mind's wandering. Come back. So the practice is trying to come back. It's making the attempt to come back. Again and again and again. And it's a hard practice, isn't it? Being in the body. It's not, it's easier to do a mantra. So I think Anne is trying to say something there. Yeah. The phone's on mute.
Yeah, I eventually found it very peaceful,
Yeah.
but it was quite a struggle to get there. I started to feel that I wanted to sneeze, and then at that time you were saying about, I don't know, anyway, I decided color was coming, and I focused on the color, and the sneezing disappeared.
Mhm.
And then the heartbeat, I was very aware of my heart beating.
Wow.
And something else. Oh yeah, there was a noise outside. I felt irritated, but then I concentrated on the heartbeat, and that, I don't know where it went, but
Yeah.
it was all a struggle, but worth the struggle, because
Yeah.
it ultimately, I felt great peace and like a weightlessness in my body. But I kept tortured with, am I doing it right? Am I doing it right?
See, we all do this.
Strange, really.
Yeah.
You know, it's, I think it's ingrained in you so much as how to behave.
Yeah. It's a
And
conditioning.
I'm trying to be perfect, and no matter how good you are, still try harder to be better.
Yeah.
How do you get that all washed out of your head when it's been there for so many years?
It takes a long, it'll always be there to some degree, Anne, you know, we kind of have to accept that
We're not perfect. Yeah.
it
And
will
never be.
always be there. Yeah. That's the, you know, the Enzo is the practice, you know, when you do the calligraphy, you as you're exhaling, I'll bring it closer so you can see. I'm copying Rita. I got my blanket. It's a lovely Zen practice. You know, you as you're exhaling, you start to draw the circle.
Right.
And sometimes you do meet the end, but it's usually you don't. There's usually a little gap.
Right.
Hmm.
You only do it on the exhale.
You only do it on the exhale. You're trying to match the movements. You know, as you're watching the whole flow of your exhale, you're moving slowly with the paintbrush.
Right. And when you're inhaling, you lift it off the page, or you go back.
Yeah. Yeah. Once the pause comes in, then you stop.
You lift and then breathe in, and then
Breathe out. This is the exhale.
just exhale. Oh,
So it's a great practice. Yeah, it's fun to do. But they often say that this gap represents in another level, the gap represents the conditioning, that there's always a scar, even if you've worked on a certain aspect of yourself or a certain trauma, and you've really, let it go. You've worked on that time that you were bullied as a child or whatever, and you've cried and you've grieved for that time, and you've expressed it, you've felt it. There's always a scar. There's always an impression.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when you're doing this, are you thinking of one particular thing or episode in your life, or just?
Or this? No, just the breath.
Just the breath. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, try that this afternoon.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Maybe we should do a few Zen practices like that.
Yeah.
We better wrap it up, but before we wrap it up, Rita, did you? I see you've unmuted yourself there.
Oh, just to say, I find that very calming. I was distracted at times, thinking, will I remember how to do this? Again, and I was distracted by noises outside. But no, I find it really calming. Really, I enjoyed that very much. Really nice.
Good.
Thank you, Carla.
Yeah.
Nearly.
We have to learn.
Sleep.
Okay.
It was
we have to
lovely.
learn that our bodies are a safe place to come back to. you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Your body's your temple.
Yeah. Anybody else? Can you say anything down? You don't have to if you don't want to. Okay, so I think I'll wrap it up. I'm just conscious of letting you get on with your day.
Mm.
And, I'll
Thank-
stay
thank
here
you.
and chat to you all day. But try and engage through the senses this week, right? And write down your feelings and sensations if you can. The journaling practice really, really good to do every day. Okay.
Lovely. Thank
And
you.
You're welcome. Have a great week.
You too. Have a
Thank
nice
you,
weekend.
Orla. Bye.
Bye, everybody. Bye.
Bye, and
Thanks.
bye-bye. Have a
Bye,
nice weekend.
everybody.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye, Maureen. Bye, Karen.
And
Bye, everybody.
stop.